Drake and Kendrick Lamar finally hate each other. To be clear, even if one of them has always dreamed of making peace, the other seems to have no intention of reconnecting. You could even say he hates him. Yet, despite the fact that both are clearly among the greatest rappers of all time, I feel like very few people are aware of their feud, which can almost be considered a secret at this point. After weeks of research, I can even confirm that one of them seems to have lost all respect for the other, despite the fact that they were once very close, even touring together in 2011. Today, in this video, we're going to dive into this story and try to understand why, in my opinion, we came very close to witnessing the biggest feud of the decade. Before we start, I just want to say that I've created an Instagram account where I plan to be super active this year. If you want to ask me questions, don't hesitate to follow me on Insta. I'll reply to all DMs. I also have a second YouTube channel where I post IRL videos and talk about everything happening in rap every week. If you're interested, I'll leave the links in the description. Let's go! The beginnings of a friendship. To start, it's important to know that Drake and Kendrick Lamar haven't always been on bad terms. In fact, at the beginning, it was quite the opposite. The story begins in 2011. At that time, Drake was already blowing up, while Kendrick was preparing to release his first major album, Section .80, which is now considered a classic. Despite his incredible talent, Kendrick was still far from Drake's level of buzz, as Drake was already dominating the charts. But when I say Kendrick was already talented, I mean he was on another level. You could even say he was already in his prime. Just look at the quality of the tracks he was putting out before he even broke through. In fact, back in 2009, in one of his songs, Kendrick had already mentioned Drake, admitting that he was much stronger than him. Early on, Kendrick felt that mainstream hip-hop wasn't really his thing. On June 16, 2011, Kendrick experienced a defining moment. He performed on stage in Toronto for the first time in his life. Toronto, Drake's city. When Drake found out Kendrick was in town, he sent him a message so they could meet. That's where their relationship began. Kendrick later reflected on this meeting in a magazine, saying, "He's a really good guy. He has a pure soul. We clicked right away, even though we'd only spoken once before." During this meeting, Kendrick gave Drake a copy of his first album, Section .80. As a fun fact, Kendrick later admitted that Drake was the first person in the world to have his album, and he was shocked by his talent. In my research, I even found a 2011 tweet where Drake was already quoting lyrics from one of Kendrick's songs. Drake loved Kendrick's music so much that he invited him to feature on his next album, Take Care. Touring together. In 2012, Drake and Kendrick went on tour together, the Club Paradise Tour. This was a pivotal moment for Kendrick, who was experiencing performing in front of such large audiences for the first time. Drake even pushed for Kendrick to be part of the tour, despite resistance from his label. Later, Drake would reference this in a 2016 song, emphasizing that he had really gone out of his way to include Kendrick. Tensions began to rise. However, the gap between Kendrick and Drake began to close. In 2012, Kendrick released Good Kid, Mad City, an album now considered one of the greatest of all time. On this album, Kendrick invited Drake to feature on the track Poetic Justice. On October 22, 2012, the day the album dropped, Drake tweeted to congratulate Kendrick. At this point, Kendrick was truly starting to stand out in the industry, both for his talent and his unique mindset. But things started to get tense in 2013. Kendrick was now one of the most respected rappers in the world, thanks to Good Kid, Mad City. Meanwhile, Drake was also having a phenomenal year with his album Nothing Was the Same. The media and fans naturally began debating who was the better rapper. In 2013, Kendrick won the Best MC of the Year award at the MTV Awards. While most rappers seemed happy for him, Drake showed no enthusiasm. The public feud. On August 12, 2013, Kendrick dropped one of the most explosive verses in rap history on the song Control. In this verse, he directly called out Drake, along with several other rappers. Drake didn't take this well. In an interview, he said he didn't find the verse all that impressive and that Kendrick was just trying to grab attention. In 2015, Kendrick released To Pimp a Butterfly, an album considered one of the greatest of all time. On this album, he sent subliminal shots at Drake. The rivalry intensifies. In 2016, Kendrick won several Grammy Awards, including Best Rap Album for To Pimp a Butterfly. Meanwhile, Drake continued to dominate the charts with hits like One Dance and Hotline Bling. In 2017, Kendrick dropped Damn, another critically acclaimed album. On this album, he took more shots at Drake, particularly on the track DNA. The current situation. Today, the rivalry between Drake and Kendrick seems as strong as ever. Despite a few attempts at reconciliation, it's clear that Kendrick has no intention of making peace with Drake. In 2022, Kendrick released Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, an album where he once again sent messages to Drake. On his end, Drake continues to dominate the charts, but the tension between the two rappers seems far from over.